Good day, you beautiful people of YouTube. This is the Mad Marine here, and today I will be giving you a simple review of the Mosin Nagant 9130. Now, a few of you may already know a little bit about the Mosin Nagant. I'll go over a few brief details, but very simply, the Mosin Nagant was originally designed in 1891, which is where you get the 9130. The 30 part is the last year they made, or the model they made in 9130 with the modifications. 1891, it had different barrel bands, it had even a longer barrel, and a few other odds and ends that are just different from the 9130 model. One of the other interesting fun facts is this thing was manufactured by the French, the US, the Russians, the Polish, the Romanians, the Hungarians, the Finnish, and the Chinese, and was used in tons of conflicts throughout the world, both in the early part of the century and even later on. These can be found probably just about any corner of the world. And the round is fairly popular, and you have a few over here. 7.62 by 54R, very powerful cartridge, very effective. A bit much for anything you would need in North America if you wanted to hunt with this, except for maybe like bear, maybe very large moose, or I don't know, other very large game. But for the most part, this is overkill for anything you need. It does a great job for deer. Women actually use this very effectively in Russia during World War II. There are very famous women snipers. In fact, the most deadly woman sniper in history was a Russian female, and she used a Mosin Nagant. So if you have anyone complaining, especially females, tell them there are a bunch of dead Germans and a bunch of babushkas that would disagree with you that this rifle is not good and it kicks too hard. There are plenty of people who can shoot this rifle. It has a little bit of power to it, but not too much. And if you need to, you could always get a pad on the buttstock to lessen the recoil if it's too much for you. In my last video, I was using this safety thing to talk about quick shot, and I never actually told you why I like quick shot so much. It's a range in Atlanta, Georgia. They have 2 locations, and they also have, I think, another one in Charleston, South Carolina. But one of the big reasons I like quick shot is they let you shoot this steel core ammo. Now, no tracers, please, because I like going to that range and I don't like you burning it down. But they will let you shoot steel core, and if you can see in there, no round on the bolt. All right, we're good. The Mosin does have a really bad safety. You pull this back and turn, and voila, that's your safety if I did that well enough. And turn this back this way, and safety is off, and you're ready to fire. This thing is pretty much worthless, in my opinion. I would not use it as a safety. If you can tell by this abomination, this thing has seen better days. It has also seen worse days. This thing I got from Classic Firearms, and it came in terrible condition. It had rust, it has pitting, it still has pitting. The stock was broken. You can kind of see where I had to fix the stock a little bit. This thing is just, it's seen better days. One interesting thing about it, when I first got it, I couldn't even tell until I cleaned it up. You can see in there, this is actually an ex-sniper. At one point, this was a sniper rifle, and it had a sniper mount. Now, some other Mosins, and the ones that are currently being sent into the United States, will have a little tack weld right up here on the sight, and that doesn't allow you to go past 400 meters. I think that is either because of Polish or Ukrainian law. It doesn't allow you to shoot any farther than 400 meters. I can't remember if it's Polish or Ukrainian, though, but it's one of the two. So this Mosin has clearly seen better days. I definitely feel a little bamboozled from Classic Firearms, but for $150 during the current scenario, and it's July 2020, I guess I shouldn't feel too bad, because right now Mosin prices are stupid. But I did at the time feel a little bamboozled, but it works, so try not to complain too much about it. So what I use to clean it: vinegar, baking soda, Coca-Cola, and a polish brush with a Dremel. And that did a pretty good job. At this point, it's not worth much more energy putting into it. This rifle works. I'm not going to achieve anything better than maybe a little bit better aesthetics, but this kind of has a awful battlefield pickup, beat to crap look to it, so I'll keep it. And this would definitely be a loaner rifle if somebody wanted to take it out to the woods and plink around with it, or if somebody needed something in a pinch, I could give this to them, and not lose any sleep over it. It's not a rifle I'd miss if it went missing. The next thing, so one of the things you want to do when buying a Mosin Nagant, and you may look online or you may look in a store, and I would recommend looking in a store. One of the couple of things you would want to do is check for matching serial numbers. Now, you probably won't be able to see it very well, but this is a 1943, and it has the top Cyrillic serial number right here. And I doubt, let's see, yeah, there's a little bit. You can see it. It's pretty terrible. But you can see that the serial number's here. And actually, I just checked. The bolt matches as well. Now, what you don't want to see is at some point they did another serial number over here. This is when they cross things out. It's usually force matching at some point. And then here they crossed out the original serial number for something else and put the old serial number here. Now, when they come into the United States, the U.S. does not trust the original serial number. Oh, and there's one other serial number right here, and this might match. I just haven't gone through and cleaned this up that much, but this might match. It's close to the original serial number. But the U.S. does not trust the old serial numbers, so they give them a new serial number, which is covered up by tape right here, and then they have the manufacturer importer name, usually here, sometimes on the side over here. Some of the very old Century ones actually have it on the barrel. Kind of weird, but that's where they put them. But those are very old imports from Century, and you probably won't see those. One of the things I would also do is you want to do a barrel test. Now, barrel test and counterboring are two things to be pretty concerned about. And I'll try, see if I can show this to you guys easily. But what you want to do is take some bullets, and right now these are 180 grain, and these are Yugoslavian, and these are heavy ball. These are absolutely fine to shoot in a Mosin. Do not shoot this out of a PSL or Dragunov or Tiger or anything else, because they'll ruin your barrel. It's too heavy of a bullet. This is made for something with a more stout barrel. So one of the things you want is you would want to stick this in here, and you'd see just, oh, this is a terrible angle. What you would want is to stick this in here and see just a little bit of the bullet protruding out. And that's going to tell you your barrel life and tell you that the thing has not been counterbored. But when I push it in, it swallows the whole thing, whole bullet, and part of the cartridge. So that tells you either one or two things. Either this thing's been counterbored, and you can look in the barrel and see that there'll be no rifling probably from about here to here, or as needed, depending where the rifling stops. But this rifle has been counterbored, has not been shot out, although it may have been shot at one time, but that's why this bullet is eaten by this rifle. It has been counterbored. So this rifle has seen a lot of use at some point. So definitely you want to check the rifling, see if it's been counterbored. The other thing to be very careful of, and it's probably very unlikely you're going to run into the scenario, but there is something called caliber conversions. So at some point, some interesting, not too bright people, in my humble opinion, got the great idea of let's make a Mosin Nagant in 308 or 30-06. Well, the problem is if you don't know, or if it hasn't been marked, and you go and put this into something that's been made at 308 or 30-06, you're going to have a terrible, terrible day. So just be careful. If you take a round, put it in there, and it doesn't feel right, feels really loose and wobbly, it's probably been converted to a 308 or 30-06. That being said, I highly doubt you're going to run into this problem. It's extraordinarily unlikely, but it wouldn't hurt to get, if you're unfamiliar with firearms, to get it checked out, especially if you're buying used or secondhand, not from a direct importer who has, new old stock from coming directly overseas. Another thing about the Mosin Nagant 7.62 by 54R, plenty of countries made ammunition. Bulgaria, Russia. There are actually a couple Russian factories. There's new production, Tula, and a couple of other manufacturers. I think even somebody is now making new brass 7.62 by 54R, but I'm not sure who. If you can correct me on who's making that, please put that in the comments. And it's just a rabbit hole with Mosin. Some of them have really crazy markings, whether they've been captured or where they've been, or changing out of parts. And a lot of the markings are on the outside of the trunnion, or if you remove the stock and then look under the receiver, you'll see under the receiver that there's markings as well. And that will tell you more of the history of the rifle and where it's been, if it has been captured, what certain markings mean. Again, it's a whole rabbit hole for the different markings. I don't think anyone knows it all. I certainly don't, but if it's sometimes fun to get a rifle, take it apart, and see what you see, and just see where the rifle's been, and maybe who captured it or where it went. And because the history and prolificity and wars and where these rifles have been, you can get crazy markings. Like, I had one rifle that was in 1898, and it had been captured by the Finns. At what time? It was a Russian. At one point, it made it into the Austrian military. It just had a bunch of weird, crazy markings, and the rifle had definitely had some stories if it could tell it. So that was definitely interesting. Back to the ammo. The ammo currently right now, I just checked in mid-July of 2020, is about 40 cents a shot. And to me, that's a lot of money for a surplus round. And they usually you can buy them in spam cans of 440 rounds. My kind of max price is usually around 34 cents a shot, which basically means it's about $150 a can, and that's if I really felt I needed it. This stuff is a bit more, the heavy ball. It's also corrosive, so do take care of your rifles after shooting it. I honestly, at this point, because the cost of ammunition is so high, and also because of the cost of the rifle, which I'll talk about in just a second, but back in the day, spam cans of ammo were $49, to anywhere to $89 a can, and those days may be long gone at this point, but almost doubling or tripling the price now kind of defeats the purpose and utility of this peasant stick. That's one of the names it's referred to, because one, it's so simple anyone could use it, even a peasant, and two, it's so cheap that if you're poor, even you could afford one. And peasants did use these in Russia because they were conscripted, handed a rifle, and say go fight for the motherland, and they did. So one of the silly names, there's plenty of other nicknames for the Mosin, but the other cost is ammunition at 40 cents a round. Rifle cost, I just checked this out today, looked around for a few distributors, and people had it in stock, and they want $300+ for a rifle that used to be anywhere from $100 to $200. At $300 plus, there are other bolt-action rifles that have a modern caliber that I would recommend differently. I'd recommend other rifles at this point because the Mosin is so expensive, just overall cost. Now, if you want a rifle because it's from World War II and it has historical flaws in character and whatever, that's fantastic. Go for it. Don't modernize these. They're not worth it. Don't put a fancy scope on it or make it all tactical. There's nothing tactical about a Mosin Nagant. So please don't waste your time or money. You'll never recoup it unless it's just what you want to do. If it's what you want to do and you want to spend the money, go for it. I'm all for it. I will post a link in the details section of the page of some places to find ammo and some places to find a Mosin Nagant as cheaply as possible. I can't really recommend buying one right now, but what I would recommend, if you see one out at your gun store, take a look at it, see maybe if they'll cut you a deal on it. If you could get a Mosin for $200 and it's in decent shape, hasn't been counterbored, go for it. But at 300 plus, I'd have to say pass. 250, if the rifle's in good enough condition, maybe. But at $300 plus or $300, I just feel the Mosin's too much. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please comment, like, subscribe. Feel free to leave your bitches, moans, and complaints as well. I will leave an email if you want to email me directly in the details tab. And please subscribe and like if you can, dislike if you don't. And I will catch you next time.